So students, now we'll move to the next topic, but that is related to the equity shares only. We'll move to the merits or the advantages of equity shares from the investors or from the shareholders perspective. So when a company issues equity shares and the investors purchase those shares, so the person who are purchasing the equity shares and subscribing to these shares, they are known as equity shareholders. So we will look the advantages from that point of view, where the investors or the shareholders, what are the advantages or the benefits or the merits the shareholders are getting while purchasing the equity shares. So the first point is voting rights. So from the word, you all are very much aware, voting rights, you can derive the meaning and figure out that from the word voting right, the equity shareholders, those who have purchased the equity shares of the company, of the concerned company, the equity shareholders enjoy the voting right and in the controlling and the management affairs of the company. So, equity shareholders become a part in the management of the company affairs, relating to the management and controlling affairs of the company, and they do enjoy the voting right also. Now, moving to the next point, that is advantage of equity shares, that is limited liability. So the limited liability states that each and every shareholder, means each and every equity shareholders, the number of shares is held by the concerned persons or subscribed by the concerned persons, they are limited to that extent only. Means the person cannot be held liable for the Companies Act. So each and every share, equity shareholder, are held for the face value of the share subscribed and held by them. So that is known as limited liability. As you can see, I've written there, liability of equity shareholders is limited to the face value of the equity shares held by that concerned person, not by the company. Means limited liability of the equity shareholders cannot be held for the liability of the company. Now next we move, that is the advantages of equity shareholders in case of a successful business. Successful business means when the company is making huge profits, when the company is having the prosperity, the boom and the peak period, so the company declares a very huge percentage dividend to the equity shareholders. So in case of a successful business, the equity shareholders do also get a very high rate of dividend when the company makes and earns very huge profit, humongous profit, and then the company declares dividend, not only small, a very high percentage of dividend. You can take the example of a Hero Honda company. You have must be aware and heard and very conscious of the name. It's a well-renowned automobile company. Now, earlier in 2002 and 3, it declared a 900% dividend to the equity shareholders. So, when a company makes huge profit, the equity shareholders are entitled to receive the residual profits of the company. The equity shareholders are very much entitled to share the residual profits of the company, and the board of directors and the management at their discretion allows and gives permission and consent to the shareholders to share the dividend. Like in this 2002 and 3, Hero Honda company paid 900% dividend to the equity shareholders. Now the fourth advantage of investors or shareholders point of view, that is right shares. So right shares are those shares which are offered by the company. Do listen very carefully. Right shares are those shares which are offered by the company to the existing members or the shareholders of the company. That is known as right of preemption. So as I've written there, equity shareholders have the preemptive right to subscribe to the new shares because the shareholders have their right. So right shares are those shares which are given by the company to the existing members or the shareholders of the company through a letter of offer, that is known as preemptive right or right of preemption. Now, moving to the fifth point, that whenever a company earns huge profit, makes huge profits, so whenever the company is making the prosperity is in the boom period or on the peak period or on the peak of the business cycle, the company makes manifold too many times the profit. So when the company is making profit, therefore the equity shareholder is entitled to receive a large portions of the profits and the dividend too. So therefore the equity shareholders can earn more money and can gain these capital gains also. So as I've written here, value of the investment can increase too many times when a company is making huge profits. The company is on the boom or the peak at the pinnacle of the business cycles. So the equity shareholders also get the chance to share the profits and make capital gains out of it. Now, the sixth point is shareholders, the equity shareholders are not required to pay income tax from the dividends declared by the company. So, the equity shareholders are not required to pay income tax, that is known as IT or income tax, from the dividends that they are receiving from the company's end. So, as I've written all the 6 point of the advantages of equity shareholders, and we have discussed the advantages of equity shareholders from company's point of view, and now this is from the investors or shareholders point of view. So you have to study minimum 4 points from company's point of view and minimum 4 points from shareholders point of view. Means in total you have to study 8 points. In total you have to study any 8 points from combining the from the company's point of view and the shareholders or investors point of view. So watch the video carefully, very sincerely, several times. Go through the book several times to grab the meaning, content and concept of it, and do listen to the audio clips which I'll be sending it to you. And if any problem arises, do revert back to me so I can give you the required assistance. So please have a look. I have written out the advantages, the benefits or the merits, and do jot it down at your respective commerce copies. And I would like to share that all of you commerce students of class 12 have to update their copies regarding the commerce classwork. Your all the classwork means all the short questions and long question answers of the chapter, then that is chapter 1, 2, 3. You have to write it down at your commerce copies and finish it. So because those copies will be evaluated, assessed and checked. So on the basis of that, that some things will be assessed and something will be given it to you. So you have to update your copy.